There once was a boy named Narcissus, who grew up to become a very handsome man. Everyone loved him, and he attracted many women. However, he never returned their affection. One day, he rejected a nymph named Echo, and she would end up wasting away while pitying him. Since Narcissus rejected everyone and denied them love, it was fated that he would never have anything that he loved. One day, while hunting, he went to get a drink of water, so he stopped by a pond and he noticed a reflection. He fell in love with the reflection of himself. He was so impressed with it that he didn't do anything else. He tried to grab the image, but it just created ripples, and that just made him want it more. So he stayed there, admiring his image, without any food and without any water. He stayed there for so long that he eventually started to waste away, and eventually he died by that pond. While this is a Greek myth, many of the implications and parallels are relevant to the youth of today. With our obsession with instant fame and our obsession with ourselves, how long will it last? And what benefit can it give us? What's wrong with liking instant fame? If we look at some really popular shows that teenagers and young adults watch, we can see what teens are being taught about acceptance. For example, the show Love Island is about finding romance, soon winning approval from viewers, in order to win a cash prize. Either that or get eliminated. What does it take to get on the show? Well, you need to be young, toned, beautiful, and the show's casting producer admits that you need to have a large social media following. This is sending a message to teenagers and telling them that basically you can make money, you can be successful, you can get fame if you're attractive, and you can get people to like you. Not only that, but it makes it seem like the method is simple and attainable, but it's not that straightforward. Wanting to be a celebrity, wanting fame isn't something new. Each generation had something that they were obsessed with. Maybe they wanted to be a rock star, a movie star, a TV personality, a celebrity, and now these days a social media icon. But today, a silly TikTok that you make has the potential of getting you brand offers from fashion companies, sports apparel companies, perfume brands, or even like Netflix shows. A lot of people dream to have these things, hoping that, their TikTok or their Instagram posts would go viral. But what are they willing to invest to get there? Orville Gilbert Brim, author of Look at Me, The Fame Motive from Childhood to Death, says today's culture is full of people who don't want fame for a specific talent. They want fame to feel more accepted. Brim references surveys pointing to the fact that there are at least 4 million people in the US who make being famous their main goal in life. And this was back in 2009, so we can probably expect the numbers to have swelled up and grown since then. Essentially, people are using fame to meet needs that they didn't get, like the need for acceptance and approval from their parents, school friends, or others, to remedy an insecurity that they feel. But the way people hope to become famous differ. Some people want to accomplish something great. Other people want to be associated with famous families or famous people. But today in our culture, there are many people who want to be famous without displaying a talent or putting in any kind of work. People just want to be on the camera all the time. Especially with vlogs, the camera is in your face the entire day. But many don't want to move away from that camera and actually work on a craft. Well, now you might say, well, wait, side guy, come on, dude. This is something that people outgrow. People grow up and forget about this. Not everyone does. A study of 1,032 16-year-olds in the UK found that more than half had no desire of going into a profession that didn't involve being a celebrity. Now you can't make the argument that it's just the Americans who are materialistic and that they're the only ones obsessed with Hollywood movies and fame and fortune. And these are 16-year-olds. They're not too far from college-age kids. It should bother you when somebody tells you that their main goal is to become famous. They want to be a social media personality. Like, what do you want out of that? You just want to talk about your opinions? You want to just look pretty on camera so people can compliment you? And then you might be thinking, well then, aren't you doing the same thing? Well, to be fair, I am just paying my loans back. The research team also found that many young people didn't know how to get respectable attention, so many of them resort to tactics like posting inappropriate pictures or videos for that quick attention. They choose easier methods. And there are plenty of YouTube channels out there. I won't mention any names, but they get all their views from lewd topics and discussions, like sexualized pranks and like challenges. But the thing is, especially with teenagers, they're more likely, and children obviously, they're more likely to post things that they'll later regret. And once it's on the internet, it's hard to remove it completely. And that's because the brain isn't completely developed. The prefrontal cortex isn't completely developed until about age 25, which is responsible for long-term decision making. A separate study done by the Pew Research Center among 18 to 25-year-olds found that even getting rich is less important to some young people, than being famous. Many media experts say that the fact that people can sort of be themselves unfiltered and say whatever they want, not really have to show a talent, because of that, it seems much easier to become famous these days. And so that's another reason why people are even more motivated to seek fame. You kind of just need a camera and to be silly. However, like the story of Narcissus, these youths, they may admire themselves, but they may not ever be satisfied with the fame and the attention that they get. Brim continues, and he says that the fame motive pushes people to create unrealistic pursuits their whole lives, and most of them will create unrealistic scripts that they expect to live out and act out in their lives, and most of them will live in a constant state of disappointment, says Brim. After disappointment, a person might realize that they don't actually have what they want, and at that point, a person may take steps to make them feel less like a failure, or to not feel like a failure. And Brim says to cope with this feeling, some people blame others, they compare themselves to less famous or successful people, or they can degrade or devalue other famous people. What comes to mind? Celebrity feuds, diss tracks, insulting other people, insulting their wives. And it's a cycle of disappointment that seems meaningless. And in that situation, it's easy to turn to drug and substance abuse to kind of drown it all out. How many celebrities do you know have addictions or substance abuse problems? It's like too many to count. It's not a coinky dink. The School of Life mentions very interesting point. Psychologically, the famous are the last people on earth equipped to deal with fame. The famous are the last people on earth who are equipped to deal with what they're going through. Many became famous while they were wounded, had thin skin, or they were a bit ill in some ways, and fame ends up making all of that worse. How? Because now you've got hundreds of thousands, you've got millions of people, millions of pairs of eyes and ears watching everything that you do, listening to everything that you say, criticizing all of it, putting it on a platform, on magazines that people buy each time they go to a store, putting videos of it on YouTube or TikTok or Instagram, all of these platforms, or Twitter, calling you out. You have other celebrities insulting you, or even making a diss track. Like, who has the time to do that? But still, and you have to respond to that. You have to constantly evaluate what your image is, what the people think of you, what's your next move. And that pressure is a lot on anyone, especially the young, especially teenagers or children. It destroys them. It's too big a burden to place on someone. There are plenty of child stars who fell from grace, or no longer in the limelight, or just celebrities who started out very successful when they were young and lost their edge, ended up ruining their lives or killing themselves. All that glitters is not gold. The reflection we look at and admire, the fame that we seek, may always be out of reach. Until next time.